So this People Tools folder is your main folder. Like PeopleSoft administrator would deal with most of these navigations. Like if you want to set up anything common for the application, all those pages are here in People Tools. So if you go to Process Scheduler folder, scroll down and go to Process Scheduler. That contains like all the pages related to your scheduler. So your server definition, any processes you want to create, uh, like recurrences, types, all of that is present in this folder. First, we will go through Process Scheduler servers. Click on that page, Process Scheduler servers. So this is your server definition. And generally what happens is these page names are also like the table name behind this page is also server definition. So the names, if you don't know the exact name, you can go by the page name. You can search all underscore tables and give this this pattern, server star definition star something. So component's name is server defn, and the table name is also ps underscore server defn. So this page contains definition of all your process schedulers. So by default, it provides you PS UNX, PS NT, and these three others. You can create your own server definition as well. Say you want to create PS UNX one, like one more one more scheduler on a Linux server. You would first create a server definition, and then you can give that name to your process scheduler. So in the configuration, we had used PSUNX for our second domain. So this PSUNX configuration will be applicable to our process scheduler, the new process scheduler that we created.
So when we create the new one, we have to attach some servers into that, or
No, we have to give one name there, like
okay.
with the server name. It asked you server name during the
Mm-hmm.
configuration.
Yeah.
Go to putty once and go to edit configuration files, option 6. First, edit domain configuration file, search for PSUNX slash and PSUNX in capitals. Enter. Yeah. So this input was given when we configured this process scheduler.
Yeah.
Like in the quick configuration menu, it asked you the server name, and we had given
So on
like
the
it
same
was
server, we can have multiple process schedulers.
correct. You can have multiple schedulers depending on the capacity of the server,
Yeah.
and these names cannot be repeated. So you can
So
have
now,
PSUNX.
where
Yeah.
do they choose the server here? If I want to create a new one, how
If you want to
does
create a new one, you go to click on return to search, scroll down and click on return to search. Go scroll up and click on add a new value. And here you would give PSUNX1, for example, and click on add. Now, this is going to load all the process categories that you have defined in your database. So currently, by default, it has two process categories: load cache and default.
Hmm.
So every process has a process category and it has a process type, right? Say your process type is application engine and it is having default category. So if you make this default max concurrent equal to 0, no processes can run on this server which has process category default. Like if you want to disable a particular category, you make this number 0.
But this is how does this, just by creating this process scheduler definition, server definition, it is becoming a server?
No, it's not becoming a server. These are the values that your scheduler will refer to. So this is the PIA configuration, you are
Hmm.
creating a template for your PS UNX1. These are the values that your scheduler should pick up when it boots. So
Okay.
when you create the actual server on this on your VM, it reads these configurations from your database, and it will know which report node to use, when to run the process, which processes to run, all of that. So this is the actual configuration about the server in your database, and the actual scheduler server is created on your VM, and that reads this information from your database.
Hmm.
So this information is stored in your database, whatever you see in the on the page. And I will tell you the use cases of these items. Say process category. Now uh, you have some critical processes. Say you have identified 5 critical processes. Two are app engines, two are PS jobs, and say one is SQR report. So when defining your process in PIA, there is another page, process definition. There you have to register your process, define your process. So there you have to choose process category. Now, say you have chosen critical as the process category for those 5 processes. Now you want to run those critical processes on this PS UNX1. You don't want anything else to run. So when you create this server definition, this process category critical will appear here, right, in the list. For that, you can choose max concurrent, say 5 or something, and this load cache and default you can make 0, so that no other category runs on this server. Only critical processes run on this server. So this would be your
Okay.
dedicated process scheduler for the critical processes. Like, this is the use case. Say there are some processes, there are some app engines which can run on PS UNX, like Linux servers, but you deliberately want them to run on Windows. Say there are some processes which you deliberately want to run only on Windows. So say you have created one process category Windows, and you assign that category to those specific processes, and you make it 0 on all the Linux servers, and you make it max concurrent 5 on the Windows process schedulers.
So how
And
about this process types run on this server?
yeah, so process types you can choose. So PS
So
job
only,
can,
uh,
yep. For PS job, it is like, inside PS job you can have COBOL, App Engine, SQR report,
yeah,
all
yeah,
of that. So by default, it is added PS
yeah.
job.
So by default, all the
Next,
process types are added.
no, no, you have to choose the process types. So right now only PS jobs entry is here. You have to select App Engine, for example. So
Okay.
click on that process type. Sorry, click on that lookup, new lookup. So these are the process types. So whatever you want to run on this server, right, you can add the process types. So you want to run only SQR reports on the server. So you choose SQR report and you choose the max concurrent number.
So
So
when it is
nothing.
chosen PH job, so what does it mean? Which kind of uh, uh,
PS
process?
job is a special category. PS job is a group of processes that run
Yeah,
either in sequence, or they can run in parallel as well. So PS job is a special category which is a group of processes. It is not one process, and you can put any kind of process in PS job.
yeah,
Like, you can have one PS job, say, only with COBOLs. Say one PS
yeah.
job with one App Engine and
Sorry,
one SQR.
can you please hold for a sec? I'm getting a call.
Yep.
Meeting speaking. All right, that's cut. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So PS job is chosen by default, and you want to restrict the process types. Say App Engine should run. You can add those process types here. Yeah. Scroll up. Now, there are some parameters. So your description, you can change the description. Sleep time, 15 seconds. So what your process scheduler does, it polls your database for new process requests, and it does some updates and all of that from time to time. And that is not done in uh, what do you say, in real time. Say you ran one process and immediately it won't be picked up. It would take 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds, some time for it to be picked up by your process scheduler, and that depends on the sleep time. So every 15 seconds your process scheduler is going to query your database and get the new process requests or update the completed process requests. All of that is done at 15 seconds of interval, right? So it after 15 seconds it will poll the database, get all the information, and then sleep for another 15 seconds. So that cycle continues as long as your scheduler is up. And how does it know scheduler is up? So that is decided by heartbeat. So every 16 seconds process scheduler is going to send a heartbeat message to your database. So if your database does not receive a heartbeat message for, say, in next 60 seconds, it will show your scheduler as down. So you see the status of the servers, right, on your process monitor, running down. That is decided by your heartbeat seconds. Then max API aware. So there is one checkbox for every process, max API aware. So like I exactly don't know what that is, but you can decide how many concurrent max API processes can run on this server. So that is 5. Then operating system. So on which operating system you are going to create the scheduler. So this is named PS Unix 1. So we are going to select Unix. Right. Then there are other parameters as well: CPU utilization, memory utilization. Those are not those are optional. So you can, like, say if it reaches 90%, you've given value 90%. If it reaches 90%, it will not process any new process. Like it will stop picking up the processes. So that is for limiting the, like, depending on the resource utilization, you can limit the processes running. Give me a second. Yeah. Now, server load balancing option, redistribute workload option. We don't usually disturb this setting,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So you can either choose to load balance or not load balance. And redistribute workload option is redistribute with same OS. So say if your namas like if your process was run on PS UNX, like it is defined for Unix servers, uh, it will make sure that if it is down, it is redirected to another Unix server only. It will never go to a Windows server. If all your Unix servers are down, it will remain in queued status. Like it will not go to Windows servers at any cost if this option is selected. Redistribute with same OS, right? And some processes can run on um, both the both kinds of servers, Windows or Linux. In that case, you can choose that any OS option. Now the use case here is, say you have Linux servers and you have some app engines where the paths are hard coded, say /tmp or something, and those are present only on Linux servers. On Windows servers you would have C drive, D drive, something like that. So you don't want that process to go on Windows server, otherwise it would, like, if it goes there it will fail. So in that scenario you want to redistribute only on the same OS. Like some, if some other Linux server picks it up, it is fine, /tmp is present on all the servers. But sometimes what developers do is they take like they usually put both the conditions. If it goes to a Windows server, then C temp should be used. If it goes to Linux server, then slash tmp should be used, something like that. Or they would use an environment variable, ps file directory, ps server directory, something like that. So if you've done, like if you're following that kind of rule, then you can redistribute it on any OS, right? So this option is for that. Let's go to the second page, distribution, which is related to your posting. So with which report node you want to post, that you can choose as the node name. We'll shortly see the report node configuration as well. So that's for your distribution node. You can select that. Maximum transfer retries. So if the transfer fails, how many times it should retry? That is usually 3 or 5. And interval for transfer attempts. So before initiating the second transfer, like the next transfer, for how much time it should wait? That is usually 60 seconds.
So what kind of transfer we are talking about?
We are talking about the posting of log files and output files.
Oh, okay.
So once
Yeah.
the process completes, the
Yeah.
file should be transferred from process scheduler to the web server. For that, these settings are right.
Mm.
So
So do they
this is
normally
usually,
use this these parameters?
yes, yes, this is mandatory.
Okay.
These are mandatory. Like if you don't give distribution node, your processes will not be posted. It will go to posting and then not post,
Mhm.
right? And it will, if you remember, it had shown us that the scheduler is up without a report node. So that kind of status would be shown on your server status.
So do we have to have an option to choose which web server it is going to posted?
That is, yes, that is on your report node configuration. We'll see that
Okay.
shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Click on operation. Now we usually touch these two pages, server definition and distribution. But if you want to limit the operation of the scheduler to specific days, to specific hours, you can go and modify these values.
Yeah.
By default, it runs on every day, right? From Monday to Sunday. Uh, On the last drop down, it says invalid value. Can you choose Sunday there?
No.
Sunday is there below Saturday.
Uh,
Yeah. So this tells you that the server is functional at all times from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. But if you want to restrict, say you don't want processes to run on this scheduler on Saturdays and Sundays, you can delete those rows from here. Okay, let's go to notification. Yeah, so if your server has errors or it goes down, if you want to, uh, enable email notification.
so this one notify user roles on. Okay. So particular user will get the notification,
Email. Correct.
and that user email is picked up from its what you call user profile.
Correct.
Because I was listening, I was watching one video on AWE. So even
Hmm.
AWE also, because I didn't see anything anywhere that the email was provided during that video. So I assume that it is going to pick up uh, from
Correct.
the, yeah. So
It is.
we can also give Gmail as well on that user profile.
Yes, you can. It
Okay,
depends on your SMTP server if it
that's
delivers
true.
to that email ID or not.
Yeah, yeah,
So if it is your organization's SMTP server, they might have restricted these domains, right? So yeah, usually, like it is your organization's email ID, right? So
yeah.
on your user profile, you can give multiple email IDs for one user, but one email ID should be checked as primary. So whichever is your primary email ID will be notified. So you have your organization's email ID and your Gmail email ID defined on
Yeah.
your user profile. When you go on vacation, you can choose your Gmail ID as primary and go on vacation. Like if you want to receive notifications on your Gmail ID. When you come back, you can choose your organization's email ID as primary, something like that. And if you don't want to hardcode the users, you can create a role specific for the notifications. You can choose that role.
Yeah.
Say you've created one role, say PS admin, ABC underscore PS admin, and
Mhm.
whoever is the PS admin should get that notification. So if one person leaves, for example, and his roles are revoked, he will not get the notification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to daemon, last page. So there are some processes which can be defined as daemon, and like I've never used this feature, but this
What does it
is
mean
like
by demon means?
it will run in background, like without any intervention, without
Okay.
scheduling or anything. If you want to say do some housekeeping task or something, you can create a daemon process and you can put those values here. Like, and you can assign your process to a daemon group. You can choose that group here, so it will run from time to time. Say every 15 minutes or something, you want to run something, some cleaning housekeeping process, you can give those parameters here. Yeah. So that's about process scheduler servers. So we are not going to touch these values. We'll
Yeah.
quickly go through the existing configuration of PSUNX. Could
Okay.
you
So
just
you want me
refresh
to
this?
save? You want me to
No, no,
save or? Okay.
don't save. Just refresh this page. Yeah, search. Go to PSUNX. Yeah. So here it says sleep time is 15 seconds. So polling to the database will be done every 15 seconds. Heartbeat is 60 seconds. Max API aware 6. And the other optional parameters are blank. Process categories, there are only two process categories so in the database, so the like it will list these two. If you add another one and come back to this page again, it will list the third one as well. So when you create a new process category, you'll have to revisit every configuration of process servers. Like say you have 6 process scheduler servers, you'll go to every configuration and define that number for the new process category. In process types, it says 6 app engines can run concurrently,
Yeah.
then COBOL 3, all these values. And you can decide the priority as well. So if both of these processes come to the scheduler at once, say in one poll, when your process scheduler polls for the requests and it gets say 6 requests. So out of those 6 requests, which one should be picked up first? That would be decided by the priority of the process type. Yeah. Scroll up. Distribution, yeah, operation, notification, daemon. Yeah, these will be blank. Yeah. So that's about the process scheduler servers. Let's go to report node. Click on your navbar and go to report nodes. Process scheduler report nodes.
Process scheduler report.
Click on search. There is only one report node as of now. So there are multiple protocols. So basically, the motto of this definition is to how the files will be transferred from your process scheduler servers to web server. That is defined by your report node. So
Mhm.
which protocol, using which protocol do you want to transfer? So if you choose HTTP or HTTPS, your PeopleSoft web server will be used for transfer. For other options, you have to define other kind of servers. Say if you choose FTP, you will need an FTP server to transfer those files. Click on that drop down. So there is FTP, which is file transfer protocol, which is unencrypted, less secure. Like, there is no security. Anybody who has access to network can see, you know, what content is getting transferred. FTPS is a proprietary protocol of Microsoft. So it adds a secure layer on top of FTP, and but it is specific to IIS servers. Like it is specific to Microsoft products, and it's not widely used. It is just FTP, which is transferred over HTTPS or something like that. And then comes HTTP and HTTPS. Those are web, like your web server will be used for transferring the files through HTTP or HTTPS. If you have if you have SSL certificate, you would use HTTPS. If you are using plain HTTP, like plain text, you can choose HTTP. HTTP is unencrypted, no security. HTTPS has the security. Next is SFTP, which is another protocol, but it works over SSH. So that's different from FTPS, right? So FTPS is Microsoft specific. SFTP is common. Anybody can set up SFTP on any kind of server, right? So it is the most secure option in these cases. Like in these options, HTTPS and SFTP, these two options are the most secure. And then last is Xcopy. So Xcopy is the copy command which you can execute on Windows servers. So using your command prompt, you can also execute Xcopy on your command prompt. So all the Windows servers support Xcopy. So if you have schedulers only on Windows servers, say, and you don't want to go through the web server, you can use Xcopy command. So last option can be used for Windows servers. But generally, you would find only HTTP and HTTPS being used, which is the transfer is done through your web server. So let it be HTTP here. Next is URL ID.
So
So
what's the
URL ID,
validate?
when you have given all the configuration, you can click on validate to see if the settings are correct or not. If there is anything invalid, it will fail.
Hmm.
So
I just want
URL
to
ID is the
check.
common. No, that is the common path which would appear at the beginning of your output file or log file. When you open your log file in the browser, this is the starting string of every URL.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you click on a log file link, it would start with this string and then slash report ID slash log file name. So the common string is given here, like with which URL it should open. Then operating system. So wherever your web server is, you can choose that operating system, which is Unix in our case. Scroll down. Login details are applicable when you are using SFTP, FTP, those kind of servers, and you have credentials
No,
to
no.
be passed.
Yeah.
When you are using web server, you have to give the details in URL details section. So
So
URI
this is the web
host,
server details.
correct. URI host is the host name or IP address of your web server. So this communication goes between your scheduler to web server. So if scheduler, like whatever scheduler can recognize, that name should be given here. So for example, this localhost.local domain is invalid for our Windows machine. For our end user machine, localhost.local domain does not have any, uh, like it is not pointing to any machine, right? It's an invalid value for us. But for
So
process scheduler,
so
yeah,
for us now, Yeah, is this going to, with this localhost.local domain, is it going to talk to our web server?
Yes, yes, it would, because the communication is between process scheduler and web server, and they are
Okay,
residing on the same machine. And process scheduler knows what localhost.local domain is. Like that is
all
what we
right.
want. So that is your web server. You can also give the IP address and then URI port. So if you have chosen HTTP, you would use the HTTP port. If you have chosen HTTPS, you would use the HTTPS port. Then
So
URI resource,
8,000 is our web server port, right?
correct, correct, that you see in the URL.
Yeah.
Then URI resource is scheduler transfer remains the same. It's a static string, right? And then slash site name. So our site name is PS, right? In your organization, it would be HCM dev, HCM prod, anything. And this site name can be seen in the URL after PSP. So whatever you see after PSP, PSP slash, that is your site name. So it is PS in our case.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's the report node configuration. So process scheduler is going to hit this web server on this port, and it is going to call this servlet, this scheduler transfer slash PS servlet. Like that's what it means. And you can view the log file using the URL ID that you have defined on top. Scroll up. Yeah. That's about report definition. And this connection properties, say if you're using an FTP server and you want to transfer all the files in say binary mode, so those properties can be given here.
Oh, I think
But
I got locked out.
you have to relog in.
I was kicked out, I think.
Yep. Yeah. So depending on the protocol, you might want to pass some properties, some headers that you can do. You can go to recently visited. From recently visited, you can open. Yeah.
Oh, here also we can encrypt the password.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
This
okay.
dialog is available on multiple pages. So wherever you need to put some encrypted value, you'll find this dialog.
Details.
Yeah. So that's about the report node. Let's go to process definition page. Process scheduler, process definition,
Process definition.
processes, process scheduler processes. Uh-huh.
So we have process scheduler.
Processes.
Where is processes?
Uh, Before recurrences and below process type, right in the middle. There it is. Before recurrences. Yeah.
Yeah, processes. Okay.
Click on search. So when you create an app engine, for example, in your application designer, you'll have to register that process here, right? So that process definition should be present in your database for that to work. Now, this process definition will decide who can run the process, on which page this process can be run. All those things are decided by the process definition. Let's open some random process. Yeah. So this is some conversion app engine, right? So you will see those priority, process category, all of that here. process should have a process category and a priority. So if you create a new process category, you can use that on this page. Then you can also put some constraints like max concurrent. For example, there is some process which you want to, like, that should be exclusive, only one should run at a time. So that can be limited using this parameter max concurrent. So put one as the number, and only one process can run at a time. If you run other similar processes, like same processes, those will be in blocked state. So there is, just like success, warning, error, there is one more status called blocked. So when max concurrent is one, and you've run other processes as well, like same processes multiple times, other instances will be in blocked state, and till the time the first one completes, then the next one will be picked up, other will be in blocked.
What's the from email ID? Like, how does it work?
No, not sure what that is.
That's okay.
Yeah, so you can go through people books and read about all the fields, what they do. Like, I've never modified this value, to be honest. Now this max processing time, so say you have a process which you are expecting to run in 15 minutes, and if it goes above 15 minutes, you don't want that to run. So I'll give you one scenario. So there is one intensive uh, report which you are running with, say, 8 parallel CPUs on your database, and if that does not complete in 15 seconds, 15 minutes, you don't want that to run, like you want that to be cancelled. So in that case, you would give this max processing time constraint. So give 15 minutes here. So if it goes over 15 minutes, it will be killed automatically by your process scheduler,
Okay.
right? Then mutually exclusive processes. So there are some processes, say there are two processes, and you know that only one should run at a time. If other one runs at the same time, it will corrupt the data. So those processes can be added here in mutually exclusive processes.
Sorry. So what does it mean? Like, say if I choose any value here, okay, any process. So what exactly is going to happen after I run this process, for example?
So choose any process. Yeah.
Yeah, I chose
So
any
when you
process.
define mutually exclusive process, so say if you run this conversion program, and if you
Yeah.
run this ACA underscore merge together at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? What would happen is only one can run at a time. The other one will be in block state. That is mutually exclusive. So only
Okay.
at a time, only one can process. Once that
Oh,
process completes, the other one will be picked up.
yeah.
So there are some scenarios in which this can be useful. Say you are running, I can give you finance example. If you're running, say, multi-currency processes, revaluation, translation, and you are sure that when revaluation runs, translation should not run at any cost, or allocation should not run at any cost. So those process names can be added here. So when your batch runs, if say by mistake your L1, L2 support runs the other process at the same time, it will still not run, because you've put the constraints here.
Yeah.
Or I can take example of HCM. Say you are running some critical payroll jobs. You know that, or you are running some closed jobs. You know that, like other processes should not run at that time.
Yeah.
Then you can define all
So,
those processes
so
here.
this particular here in case ACA merge will only run after successful execution of this uh, conversion.
No, not like that. If scroll down, what it means is, if ACA merge is running, this
Mm-hmm.
conversion will not run. This will be
Ah,
blocked.
okay. Other way
If
around.
conversion
Okay.
is running, ACA will be blocked.
Okay. Got that.
Scroll up, process definition options. This will, uh, this has some, like the main parameters that we give is the component which is at the bottom. So on which component this process should be seen. Like, when you click on the run button, this process should be listed on which pages. So those components can be defined here. You can register one process on multiple pages as well. Like, say, one process, say, again, a good candidate is multi-currency process. The process name is same. For evaluation, it is FSPC car. That same process name is for translation jobs as well, right? So those the same process should be visible on both the pages, evaluation as well as translation. So both, you can find multiple entries here. Like, on whatever pages you want to see this process, you can add all those components. Then process groups decide the security of this process. Say, only the users who belong to HR all process group would be able to see this process. Even if they have access to the page, it does not mean that they can run this process. They should be part of HR all process group. Then there is one more field at the top, server name. So if you want to hard code the server name, like, it should, that it should definitely run only on PS UNX, then you can hard code the process name. It will make sure that it does not run on any other scheduler, right? So this page is for, and this on file creation and system recovery process, like, I've not used these options. You can go through people books and read about these fields. Next is override options, that is used to pass your trace parameters. So if you want to trace one particular process, so this conversion process, you can click on the drop down and choose append, and and then you can append all the trace parameters. So it would be something like hyphen trace SQL space 3, then hyphen trace PC space 4095 or something, some number. You can find this information in, like, if you search online,
Yeah, yeah. I know that. Yeah.
trace app engine, you can find those parameters.
Is that?
Just give me 1 minute, Nathan. Yeah, so this is for setting the trace parameters. Click on next, and other pages which you see, destination, page transfer, all those are rarely used. So you would
Yeah, yeah.
rarely go to these pages and set the values. The main pages are your process definition options, and override options.
Yeah.
Those three pages. Uh, Click on your nav bar, click on menu, and similar page is process scheduler jobs. So all your job definitions can be found there. Click on process scheduler jobs, click on no, search. So PS job is a group of processes. It is,
Yeah.
like, it can have same processes, different kinds of processes. You can choose what process to run under a job. So these will run as a group, like, it will be scheduled as one group, PS job. And similar options would be on job definition options. You can choose which component it should be visible on. Process group, who can run this. If you want to hard code server name, you can do it from this page. Go to job distribution. You can choose who should get the notification. for this job. Like the log files and output files to whom it should be sent, that those email IDs can appear here. So that's about process scheduler jobs. Let's go to recurrences. So if you want to run a specific process every 15 minutes, say you want to run this email approval process, EOA, WMC or something, right? So like when you use AWE, for example, you have a central mailbox where you are going to read the mails and then process the approval. So that process should run at regular intervals, say every 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Similarly, if you want some report to run every day at 5 p.m., so that is going to use a recurrence. When you want to repeat a process at regular interval, you would use a recurrence. So those definitions can be found here. You can create your own recurrence or use an existing one. Scroll up. So there are multiple options. You can choose, no, go to first page and yeah, daily. If you want to run this process daily, like you can you can attach
So
this
we have to
recurrence.
attach. So we have to attach this recurrence to the process, individual process.
Correct. When you run a process, you get to choose
Yeah.
the recurrence name as well. So one recurrence can be attached to multiple process instances. Like whenever you run a process, you get to choose a recurrence. So if you want to run that, if you want to run the process daily, you can use the daily recurrence, and at what time it should run, you can decide. Say this is going to run at 3:55 a.m. every day. You can choose weekly as well. So when you want to skip some days, you can choose weekly. Click on weekly. Yeah. So you get to choose the days as well. If you want to skip certain days, you can do that. Similarly, monthly. Click on monthly. Then you can choose which day of the month it should, and then customize date. And then you can define the time at which it should run. So that is a recurrence definition. Click on the navbar. Scroll down. Then schedule process request is the common page where you would find a lot of processes, and the component name for the last one, schedule process requests, the last one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Click on run. Yeah. So this is a common page from where you can run a lot of processes, and you would see, like in the process definitions, you would see this PRCS multi given in the component name.
Yeah.
See the URL, end of the URL, it says PRCS multi. That's the component name, and you would find this in many process definitions. In all these process definitions, you would find component PRCS multi. That's why they are visible here. Yeah. Close this. So, click on the navbar. Down, that covers all the important navigations. Click on process scheduler settings once. Okay. Okay. So I was talking about the this purge process, like which runs every day and deletes the process instances, deletes the files. So I think that setting is on this page. Click on that arrow key on the page list on top. Click on the arrow key. Yeah. Go to system purge options. Yeah. So this defines when your purge process will run. So it says it is using recurrence daily purge and it is going to run this process on 26th, that is the next day, uh, at 1 a.m. So it is going to run this process every day at 1 a.m. So if you check the next date, this date will be updated to the next date. And the retention is 7 days. So if you want to, what this means is, say, for example, this cancel and then days before purge is 7. So any cancel processes older than 7 days will be deleted.
Yeah.
Say you want to delete all the error warning, delete all the cancelled, all these processes which are older than 7 days. But you want to retain success and no success and error for more days. That can be done from here.
Was that? Sorry.
Sorry, any questions till now?
Hello. No, no, all good.
Okay. So that covers our process scheduler. We've visited all the important pages. Um, we'll quickly go through the web server utilities that were pending. Go to Putty.
Yeah.
So we are done with process scheduler. You can run some sample processes, you can run some reports, and if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah.
Get out of this menu and go to PSCFG home. Go to PeopleSoft, or yeah, go to PeopleSoft or HCM Dev, whatever. And LS, go to PIA bin. Yes. Yeah. So we had talked about pscipher.sh, which is used to encrypt the string, which you can then use in your configuration files. The next one is PS Key Manager. So you have something called key store, which stores all your certificates. When you enable SSL on your web server, you would store the certificates in a key store, and which is by default PS key. I'll show you where that file is. So PS key is the key store file name, and to manage that PS key uh, file, you have pskey manager.sh. So type dot slash pskey manager.sh. No, dot slash.
What's that? Dot slash.
Yeah, enter. Yeah. So this is going to list all the options that it has. So the first one is to create a new private key in CSR. So we'll discuss this when we discuss SSL. Uh, so when you want to enable SSL, you have to generate something called private key, which is your secret key. Like you don't have to share it with anybody. That's the identity of your server. Like once you've generated a private key, that's uh, like your way to say that I'm the owner of this server. And there is something called CSR, certifying certificate signing request, which is presented to another authority to sign the certificate. So we'll discuss that when we discuss SSL. So when you want to create these private key and CSR, you would use option hyphen create. Second is hyphen import. When you've got the certificates from the authority, you would want to import the certificates, or you want to say trust any third party, say google.com or gmail.com. You would import their certificates using hyphen import option. If you want to export existing certificates which are in your key store, you would use hyphen export, right? Then say you've generated CSR and you lost that file and you
So
want
we
to
have to actually insert the values over here.
Correct. When you create a new private key in CSR, you'll have to give your organization name, certificate name, where it is located, state, country, all of that. So we'll see that when we discuss
Yeah.
SSL, we'll go through all these options. So next option is cert request.
Hello. Can't hear you.
Yeah. So yeah. So the next option is cert request. After export, there is cert request. So if you've lost your CSR, for example, and if you want to export the CSR once again, you can use cert request option. Then is hyphen delete. If you want to delete an existing certificate from your key store, you can use hyphen delete. If you want to list all the certificates which are present, you would use hyphen list. Then if you want to preview a file certificate, you can, for example, you have an existing certificate from your third party or say google.com, and if you want to see the details on this black screen on the terminal, you would use preview file cert option. And then next two options are for changing the passwords. So if you want to change password for your private key, you can use change private key password. And if you want to change the whole key store's password, you would use change key store password option. So this utility is very important. You will use this when you implement SSL, or if you want to trust any third party integration, you're going to use ps key manager.sh. So this is an important utility. We will discuss this in detail when we cover SSL. Type ls. Okay, I'll just show you one example with ps key manager. We'll execute dot slash ps key manager, ps key manager.sh space hyphen list, no, pass hyphen list at the end. Enter. Yeah. So to list all the certificates, okay, you have to, no, no, you have to give the password to list. So to
Sorry.
interact with your key store, you'll need the password. So
Okay. So
check your
what
key store
password?
password. You had given this while creating your web server.
SM12.
HCM on, right? So it has listed all the certificates which are there in your key store.
Mm.
Now You would ask why so many certificates are already there in your key store when like we have not imported anything, right?
Yeah,
These are by default. So what happens is, let me share my screen to explain this.
I can see now.
Yeah. So what happens is, say you have said you are google.com, right? And you say that by defining a private key on your server, and you generate something called CSR, certificate signing request. Now that CSR is submitted to a certifying authority, CA, which can approve, which can sign the certificate, which can say that, okay, I trust you. I uh, trust that you are google.com. So
So
that's
what is
what
CA?
CA does. Certifying authority.
Okay.
Certifying authority.
So is it something called some body or agency?
Yes, correct. So examples are DigiCert, VeriSign, GoDaddy,
Mhm.
Komodo. There are various companies and people trust them. So if DigiSearch tells that, okay, this is google.com, everybody in the world trusts that, okay, this is google.com because DigiSearch says so, right? Same goes for these. And if you visit their sites, they would say 99.99% of the browsers trust us, something like this. So all the browsers, say Google Chrome, Safari, or any other browser, they choose to trust these authorities by default, right? So if it is signed by DigiCert, it will show you the lock sign. Let me go to, it tells me connection is secure. Earlier there used to be a lock sign here. Now it is
Okay.
this information sign, but earlier there used to be a lock sign. If it is not signed by a trusted certifying authority, it will show red sign here, like not secure or something,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that's decided by the browsers whether to show that warning message or not, and that warning message is shown only when the CA who has signed the certificate is not trusted. But because it is signed by someone who is trusted, these parties, any of these parties, that's why you don't see that message here. So if I click on connection is secure and click on certificate is valid, I can go to details and see who has signed it. It is signed by GTS.
Mm.
Yes, would be part of
Voice is breaking.
this trust group. Sorry. So, this root certificate would be trusted by the browser. That's why you don't see that warning message.
Yeah,
Got it right? So similarly,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, CA is going to sign the cert, and it is going to give you your public certificates. And
So
those
what are the
public
sub
certificates,
certificate? There is a root certificate and there are below some other certificate.
yeah. So this is your detail certificate or server certificate. That's your actual server like, when you say google.com, this is the certificate for google.com, or
Okay.
this is star.google.com. These certificates are called wildcard certificates, so they are applicable for all the subdomains as well. Say it could be workspace.google.com, mail.google.com, or
Hmm.
anything.google.com. It is applicable for all. These kind of certificates are wildcard certificates. They're not supported by PeopleSoft, by the way. So, this is your server certificate or detail certificate. Then comes, then there can be multiple certificates in between, or like till it reaches the root certificate. So these certificates are called intermediate certificates. So this star.google.com is signed by you can click on issuer and see who has issued it. Who has issued it? It is WR2, which is your next certificate in the chain. If I click on WR2's issuer, it says GTS root R1. If I go to GTS root R1's issuer, it is GTS root R1. So when root certificates issuer is itself, like
Yeah.
GTS root R1's issuer is always GTS root R1. Like that's the end of your chain. Before that, it is dependent on some other certificate, right? So basically, your root certificates and your intermediate certificates should be trusted by the client, should be trusted by your browser. For example, browser is the client in our case. Similarly, your web server, your WebLogic web server is also a client,
Yeah.
right? Say it is consuming some web service, third party web service, say uh, some .gov site, .org site, api.gov.org. Now they should have, like, your WebLogic web server should also trust the root certificates of this site, right? And when you say trust the root certificates, it should be stored somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
when you trust some certificates, it is called trust store. That key store is called trust store. And when you store your own public certificates or private key, that is stored in your key store. And it is not mandatory to have two separate files. You can have one file, which is ps key in our case, in our WebLogic PeopleSoft WebLogic server. Ps key is your key store. Ps key is also your trust store, right? So whatever certificates you trust will be present in ps key. Ps key is the file name. Whatever your public certificates, private key certificates, all those are also stored in your ps key file. So ps key acts as your key store as well as trust store. Now in browsers, so this is GTS root 1. Let's remember this. We are going to go to settings, and manage set. Go to security and then manage certificates. Yeah. So when you click here, you can see these certificates. Go to trusted root certificates. You see these items.
Yeah.
These are the certifying authorities that your browser already trusts. You don't have to import them. These are global services providers. They they are trusted by most of the browsers, right? So I had given you some examples like Komodo, DigiCert, then Entrust, Global Sign, GTS root will also be there. GTS root R1. So these are already in your trust store of your browser. That's why you don't see that warning message here. You got it?
Yeah.
And the same listing, this list that you see, is shown on the black screen using PSK Manager hyphen list. Like
Okay.
your web server, like what all certificates it trusts are listed using PSK Manager hyphen list.
Yeah.
So this list is similar to our commands output. So all these details are displayed on the black screen when you execute PSK Manager hyphen list. Got it?
Yep. So we'll learn
Okay.
this. We'll set up these things when we learn.
Go to PIA config, ls. Inside this folder, you have key store. Go to key store, ls. So here is your PS key. This is your key store as well as trust store. So when you execute PS key manager hyphen list hyphen import hyphen whatever it is going to modify. This is password protected. It's a
Yeah,
binary
yeah,
file. You'll not to see the contents. Yeah. So this will be used in our SSL configuration. This file.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show you this utility and this key store. That we'll see in more detail when we
Sure.
do the SSL setup. Okay. Do you have any questions till now?
No, not at this point.
Okay. So like I will stop here, and
Yeah,
in the next session we'll cover PeopleSoft security. I mean, the like just like we saw this process scheduler folder, right? All the
yeah, yeah,
navigations, like important navigations. We'll see the navigations for security as well
yeah,
in the next session. So we'll discuss first how the security works, and then we'll go through all the navigations.
yeah. No problem. So we
So this,
cover all type of like row level security and all other stuff.
yeah, correct. So from domain's perspective, we are almost done. Like we are not going to do many modifications now. In the
Yeah,
troubleshooting session, we are going to create some issues and we'll see the logs. All of that will
right.
be done. But from
Yeah,
a domain creation standpoint, we are good. We have our like two domains for each type.
we'll do that. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So we'll cover PeopleSoft security in the next session, and then we'll move to this SSL stuff next.
Yeah. So tomorrow
And
you said you're traveling, right?
yeah, so day after tomorrow we'll connect.